This is Dave Dally with Keizer TV. We are here today with Danielle Bethel. She's the executive director with the Keizer Chamber. We're going to give you some updates to the business community about these COVID funding announcements during this current lockdown for the next 2 weeks. And Danielle, your phone has been very busy finding out about information. And we have a lot of businesses who want to know, how is this going to trickle down to their way to apply or be able to access it? So what's the latest on these funding?
Yeah, so recently the governor and the emergency board approved $20 million on top of $55 million that they approved recently to go to businesses to support them through the hardships and barriers that COVID-19 has created. So today, there's a website on businessoregon.gov where you can go and apply if you're a business to receive funding to help you through kind of the barriers. The caveats that are different this time is before you were unable to receive funding if you had received any federal dollars through the CARES Act. This current funding bucket does not count that as a barrier. So if you received CARES Act dollars, you can apply. And it also increases the threshold from 25 employees to 100 employees. Originally, the money was intended to really help those small businesses gain access before corporations came in and gained access. But now you can do both. So even if you received money from the state before as a 25 or fewer employee-based business, you can still go and apply for that money. And you can do it from that website, or you can contact your local Chamber of Commerce and they can help you through the process.
You know, we saw a post yesterday about connecting with employees, about advocating to keep employees. Give us kind of a snapshot of the efforts these business owners are having to do to fight to maintain their employees' salaries.
Well, earlier this year with COVID, when the CARES Act came out and individuals were receiving more money on unemployment than they were for their regular wage, that was posing a significant hardship for business owners in Oregon, specifically small business owners, to compete with that. Now that federal dollars has gone from the unemployment bucket, we've seen employees return to businesses, but there's still burdens on small business owners who have to comply with PPE. They have to comply with all the sanitizing, all the social distancing. And each industry is very different. So in a restaurant, let's say you have a restaurant that has 50 booths. Well, right now you can only be at 50% capacity, so they're only seating 25 booths. Or last week when the governor said a restaurant can only have 50 people, including employees, in this venue, regardless of size, that's ridiculous, first of all, because social distancing, when we consider 6 feet apart with individuals in a restaurant the size of the guest house on Portland Road, which is like 1,800 square feet, versus Los Dos Hermanos, which is only 600 square feet, it's an imbalanced approach. So business owners are having to navigate a system that's a one-size-fits-all approach. It's difficult to find the information. The guidelines aren't very clear. The health department that helps them stay open are not technical assistance experts, so there's a lack of kind of hand-holding through the process. And so in addition to the cost burden that businesses are facing, there's this technical support or technical assistance burden that they face as well. And on top of that, there's the fear of the virus. So everybody has a perspective that they bring through the door as a customer, and a small business owner has to shoulder that perspective and try to provide their customer service and their standard way of doing business on top of kind of accommodating that emotional space customers are processing. Yeah. And employees are just getting berated in all different types of industries, specifically service-based industries. If you don't wear your mask properly, a customer is kind of unleashing on you as an employee. And, really everyone's trying to do their best. But there's just a lot of moving parts, and it's unfortunate that we specifically are seeing a lack of effort to really understand the challenges and serve solutions to those challenges so we can all be successful.
Well, where you're kind of a conduit of information two-way, not only learning about resources to deliver to businesses, you had asked in the past also for feedback. And it sounds like you just gave us an update of feedback on the front lines, because what gets conceptually thought of the execution, we need actual, how did it turn out? How do we fine tune this? And I think that's where we as a business community of Oregon and of Keizer and Marion County need to fine tune and have a dialogue and look at the numbers of COVID, but also say what's going to work and what's not going to work.
One really specific example that is in my mind right now is I was with my husband last week at a restaurant when the governor had issued the 50 people maximum per space order. It's a restaurant that can seat upwards of 200 people, but they can only have 50 people max. That includes the cooks, the hostess, the manager, and the servers. So on any given day, the flow of a customer base is different. With everything that's going on in the media, there's been more ebbs and flows than normal, so it's difficult to determine how many number of staff you're supposed to bring in today, knowing that you should only be able to seat 40 people, because this particular restaurant has 3 cooks no matter what. So then they have to determine, well, how many servers do I have? How many managers? Do I have a hostess? What does that look like? And then that limits their customer access in that 50 threshold. And it's impossible to know how to manage that. And the burden of just the concept of managing it versus the burden of expense, because they may be losing. If they bring in more staff, there's a cost. It takes money to pay for an employee to show up, but if they don't have a customer to come in and purchase things off the menu, then they're losing money. And it's very imbalanced, and it's very emotional, and it's created a space for small businesses in just about every walk of life that has I think burdened our mental health system, which is something we don't talk about regularly. You do not hear in the media that suicides in Oregon have doubled this year over last year's numbers. Emergency room visits for domestic violence have doubled in most of our major cities. It's really remarkable, the challenges that we're seeing.
Yeah, and in rounding out this interview, talking to consumers, we heard Maddie and me's one example of a business trying to pivot. They are not going to use delivery services because there's a whole myriad of technicalities of that business is an extension of your business who's delivering food. They may not have the same attention to detail that your restaurant has. And so they're asking that you just go through their drive-through and do pickup. And so I think the way we can help these businesses as consumers is engage their social media, hear how they best have been able to work, and then communicate. Because I can't imagine a Cisco truck showing up to your restaurant and you're saying, how much food am I going to stock? Because I don't know how many orders I'm going to get out the door. It's a dilemma. And so I think communication is key. And your restaurant owners, I see a lot of posts who are very heartwarming about, we care about you. We're going by this week to order food. So this week, make an effort to order at a local restaurant here in Keizer. Comment on their social media, how their care, how their service, make them feel appreciated, because you're right, we are really tattered. Our emotions are really raw. And I think a little bit of reach out can go a long way.
Well, and on top of the challenges that restaurants are facing, our entertainment industries are facing serious challenges. So in Keizer, we have town and country lanes. They're closed. Nobody can come in and participate. All the dance schools, are challenged with different barriers. I heard from Elsinore Theater the other day that their fourth quarter every year, which is this current quarter, is their biggest quarter of the year. And they've already faced significant downfalls because they couldn't have the theater open because of COVID-19 or a lack of support around guidelines for them. And Elsinore Theater is one of our oldest facilities in the Salem-Keizer area, and they're facing closure permanently. So what do people do? Yes, you follow social media, you pay attention, you go and buy gift cards. Emotional support is really helpful, but that doesn't help at the bank. And we need money in the bank for these places to be able to survive this and reopen and get back on their feet and try to continue forward ahead.
And it's kind of like, in closing, each generation has their time to value each other, to bolster your community. The Elsinore, at one previous point, was going to be tore down, and a bunch of Salem families and Marion County families came together and made it what it is.
Right.
And that's an example of our time, our 2020 Keizer families and community and businesses to come together and show what fabric we have to come and support each other through these unprecedented times. And I think we're going to come out of this stronger than more dissipated. And that's a hopeful thing that we can see and look forward to.
I think we're going to have more of a community connection on the outside of this. I think right now one of the fears that I have, and it's a really valid fear after looking at the most recent economic recovery information, is we knew in the spring that we were going to come into this fourth quarter really strong post-COVID because of the plans that we had all put into place and people were really willing to stand forward. I think a lot of us speculated that the governor was going to create a phase 2 pause or shutdown. Unfortunately, I think a lot of us didn't think it was going to come so soon. And a lot of our businesses just started to pick up momentum. And here they are getting kicked again during the most profitable time of the year, coming into the holidays. And how do they recover that? And I think a lot of it, too, is about their mental health, like I said. Why would they want to just pick up and keep going? I mean, they're getting beat down constantly. Nobody is saying, good job. And I have to tell you, I can tell you that I see these businesses on a regular basis, and they have stepped up. I feel safer in a restaurant than I do feel like going to the grocery store, because these small business owners believe in our safety, and they are doing everything they can to keep us safe. And I think it's very unfair to what the governor has done because the science does not speak for her actions.
And that's something that I think that we can continue to ask as consumers. Have we had a massive outbreak from a server to a patron? Is there any of that data? And so here we're doing precautionary measures, but these restaurants have gone to really high efforts to comply. Orla President Jason Brandt did a presentation to the Salem Chamber of Commerce talking about our data is like 97% compliant of our own industry, looking at our practices and delivery of safety and cleanliness. And so that's something to rally around, and that's going to really rise to the top. And I hope I agree with you that our leaders, it's a stressful decision no matter what when we have lives on the line. I can't second guess them, but I really hope that this data of these industries can be made more readily available to the community to see what our successes are, but then navigate. And I think we'll get more buy-in of people saying, well, that's obvious. This manufacturing type business that's side by side, they need some protocols.
Yeah, so in Marion County, that data is available. Our county commissioners from day one told our local health authority, you need to figure this out and get it available. So if you go to the Marion County website and go to the COVID-19 dashboard and go to the data dashboard, right below that, there's 3 recent reports. I just printed the November report that gives you the specific industries in Marion County that have the most uptick and or cases. And long-term care facilities is number 1. And number 2 is food processing facilities. And the county only has access to go in and engage the food processing centers. Long-term care facilities are managed and overseen by the governor and the Oregon Health Authority. So I just wonder, what is she doing? What is she and her team doing at the state level with their level of control and management to make sure our most vulnerable population, which is our senior citizens, in long-term care facilities are protected from this virus? Because in Marion County, it is our largest percentage of cases and deaths in a space that her department oversees. Yeah. I think, again, local control and local engagement is the best for everybody. I live here. I can drive to any one of the 11 senior facilities in Keizer and see what they are and aren't doing and ask questions, and I want to find solutions. Yeah. These are my neighbors. Yeah. And I want the governor to step forward and allow county commissioners to do just that so we can save their lives.
Yeah. And it's just a way that we're going to find how we come together to find solutions. And, you know, in Oregon, we put a lot of effort on our counties. The League of Oregon Associated Counties is always lobbying for mental health, because in our Oregon State Constitution, mental health is delivered through our counties. Right. Some people like email the governor, but we have channels of execution of services. So I hope that you can learn about what services we need and how in Oregon we deploy these services, because we need to inform you, civic leaders, so you can have a discussion and then fill inboxes of the decision makers of feedback. And I think that's what we've kind of gotten so far this year. You had asked a number of times this year about, hey, we need your feedback. But I think we're going to have more feedback requests where you're at the table saying, what is it like on the street? So we really appreciate you and your staff here at the Chamber and our President, Jonathan Thompson. The efforts that they do are really admirable, and it's the job description of a COVID asterisk of this job. If you saw what that added to so many people's jobs, it's just, there's even more summits where you think you're at the top and then you see another one. So just know we're very grateful, and we're going to get through this together, and we'll come back to you with more of these updates. We think we can get more information to you this way on your device. Comment, ask questions, and let's keep this discussion happening going forward, because it's what we're here to do.
Yeah,
so
we're here to answer questions.
Thank you very much for talking with us. Yeah. And I'm Dave Dowley with KeizerTV.com. Thank you.